Hi students, welcome back. This is part 2 video of chapter 6. Let's quickly see what we have discussed in the previous video. We started with the control structures. We do have 3 different types of control structures. In that we have discussed sequential and alternative or branching statement. So this was the topic in previous video. Now in this video we will be discussing about iterative or looping. And in the previous video, I have asked you to do the program for nested if-else statement. So let's quickly see how it works. Okay, here I have written the program. So M1, we use M1 variable to get the value of first subject, and M2, we use this M2 to get the value of second subject. Now both are input statement. We have seen so many input statements. So the next line is average. See, we have the variable average here. Since we collected only 2 subjects, you are dividing it by 2. I hope you all know to calculate average. Okay then. The next line is if statement. Here we start with nested if else. So if average greater than or equal to 80, average greater than or equal to 80 is actually the test condition. If it is satisfied, which means if it is true, your output will be grade A. If this condition is not true, then we will not select this print statement. We will jump to elif statement. We have to read the condition given in elif statement, that is average greater than or equal to 70 and average less than 80. These are the conditions, and we have used logical operator and. So whenever you are using and, both the conditions should be true, then only the entire statement will be treated as true. If anyone is going to be false, then the complete statement will be false. So here if both are satisfied, obviously your answer will be grade B. And if your answer is grade B, we are not going to read the remaining lines. We will skip all the lines which is present in nested if else. That is the logic. Likewise, if this is not true, what we will do, we will jump to the next elif, and same logic here. You will check for the condition. If it is true, you will print this print statement, or else you will jump to next elif statement. Like this we will keep on moving to all the elif statements. Once if it is satisfied, we will print and we will come out of nested if else. If no elif statements are satisfied, then stop reading all the conditions. We will jump to else statement. We will print whatever given in else statement. This is the thing. Let's move on to the result. Let's see how it works. So enter the mark, give any random number for the first subject and second subject. So the grade is A. Regarding the average, we got the grade A. Okay, now let's start with the topic of this video. Here we are going to learn about iterative or looping. Under this, again we do have 3 different statements: while, for and nested loop structure. Okay, let's start with an introduction. Iterative or looping is actually used in a situation when we are in need of executing a block of statements or a single statement for multiple times. This is based on the condition. First, we have to set the condition. Until the condition is false, the set of statements, that is a block of statement, will be executed again and again. Now look at this flow chart. We'll be entering into the condition, and if the condition is true, you will be executing this block of statement for multiple times. In case if the condition is false for the very first time, if the condition is false, we will not get into the block of statement. Instead, we will jump to the else block. See, this else block is completely optional in Python. It is not compulsory to be written. We'll see with an example. And after reading this else statement, or after executing this block of statement for multiple times, the loop will jump to further statements given in the program. So that's it. Now we will get into the very first loop. We'll see how many types are there. So in general, Python provides 2 types of looping structure, while and for. Based on these 2, we do have nested loop structure. So let's see what is while loop. So in while loop we set the condition and that condition will give the result as boolean expression. It can be true or it can be false. In case if the expression is true, we do have statement block 1 to execute for multiple times. Or else if the condition is false, we will not execute block 1. Instead we will move to else block and we will execute block 2. This else statement is completely optional statement. Now look at this flow chart. We will get into the condition at the very first, and if the condition is satisfied, which means if it is true, we will execute the conditional code, that is block 1, for multiple times. Until the condition is false, we will execute the same block again and again. Once if the condition is false, we will jump out of this while loop. Okay, now let's see an example. Here we do have variable I, value is 10, and we have introduced while loop, and we have set the condition as I less than or equal to 15. And we have the print statement. This is the action block for while. We have asked the variable to be printed for multiple times, and the conditional variable is increased by 1. So almost the general three things are needed, that is initial value, test condition and increment or decrement. This is the same procedure for all types of loop. We need initial value, test condition and increment or decrement. And we have also written the else statement, which is completely optional. See, once if you execute this program, you will understand why this else block is there. Okay, now let's run the program. We got the answer. We got the numbers 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And we got the statement thank you. Now come back to the program. See why we got all these numbers, because we have given in the print statement print I. So each time it will print I's value starting from 10 and the end number will be 15, because the test condition is compared with I less than or equal to 15, the number 15, it is compared with 15. So totally it works 6 times. Okay, so when it is 16, when the I value is turning into 16, here the condition will be false. So it is not going to pick this statement. Instead it will come out of while loop and it will get into else, because if the condition is false, we have to read else block. At that time, whatever statement present in else block, it will be executed. That is what we got here. And I told you that this else statement is completely optional. Let's delete this else and bring this print statement out of while loop. So if you cancel that space, it is out of while loop. Now run the program. The same answer. That's why we say else statement is completely optional. Okay children, I think you have understood while loop. Similar pattern only, the next one, that is for loop. Let's see what is for loop. It is the most comfortable loop and it has another name, that is entry check loop. Now what is the meaning of entry check loop? At the very beginning itself we will check for the condition. If and only if the condition is true, the action block will be getting executed, or else we do have else block, that is for false statement. If the condition is false, else block will be executed. Okay, now look at this flow chart. Here we start with for each item in sequence. So we should know what is sequence. See, sequence is a list of values. How we are going to generate this list of values? Using range function. So range function, inside range we do have three parameters. First one is start, then stop, and the optional one is step. So we will see what is start. It is the initial value, and stop means it is a final value. Step, that is used to refer increment value or decrement value. Now here we are going to check whether your condition variable is in sequence or not. That is the thing. So if it is in that sequence, you will be executing the action block again and again. Once if it reaches the end, you will exit the loop. Okay, now let's compare C++ and Python program. Here we do have Python program. regarding for statement. Now let's see C++ first. So here the very first line is for I equal to 2, I less than 10, I plus equal to 2. So which means initial value is 2 and the target is less than 10. That means 9. 9 will be the last number. And then increment is done by 2. I plus equal to 2 means I equal to I plus 2. This line is actually modified into range function. You just look at the numbers. Here we have in for loop we have used the variable I. Everything we have compared with variable I. But look at the range function. Initial number we have written only the number, then comma. Then we have the final value, that is 10. So here we have used less than 10. The same thing only in range also it happens. Whatever number you write here, it will work for one number less, that is n minus 1 times. If you are going to write n there, it will work for n minus 1 time. So if you are going to write 10, the last number will be taken as 9 and increment by 2. So I plus equal to 2. Here we have written only the number 2. This is how it works. So all on the whole, for statement and the range function totally it works for 4 times and the values are 2, 4, 6, 8. That is all about this example. Let's see this example in online editor. So here is the example for I in range 2, 10, 2 and the action block is print I. So let's run the program. Here is the output 2, 4, 6, 8. These are the numbers given in the range. Since we incremented by 2, we do get the result like this. Okay children, I think you have understood for loop and range function. Now let's move on to loop structure. See, placing a loop within another loop is actually called as nested loop structure. What all way we can place? You can place in 4 different ways. That is, you can write a while loop within another while loop or for loop within another for loop, or else you can interchange also. So these are the 4 different ways to construct the nested loops. So let's finish this session with a simple example. Okay children, now look at this example. I equal to 1, that is variable I is initialized with 1 and we have while statement. Now this I variable is treated as conditional variable. So here is the testing statement, that is test condition. I less than or equal to 6. So from 1 to 6, how many times total? 6 times. Yes, the loop will work for 6 times. Now all these lines under while statement, all the lines they do have tab space. So all these lines are the action block of while statement. Now the very first line in while statement, that is action block, we do have for loop. Now look at the immediate line. We have one tab space. So this line alone belongs to for loop. And this print statement has only one tab space, so this is not the action block of for loop, it is the action block of while. It is outer loop statement. This print statement alone is the inner loop statement. Now actually what for this program, what pattern is going to be printed? Let's see through the output. Okay, this is your output. Printing numbers in pattern. We have learnt this program in C++ also. The same thing is given in Python. Only the outer loop, that is while loop, has initial value, test condition, increment or decrement, these 3 lines. For loop will have the range. All the 3 numbers are written in range. Here in this range, step, that is increment or decrement part, is omitted. That is not necessary in this program. Okay, now let's see how it works. Here I value is 1, so here the given condition is true, I is less than 6. It gets into the action block and look at the range value. Range value is 1 comma I value is 1. So you have to substitute and check 1 comma 1. There is no range, there is no values between 1 comma 1, no numbers are there. So this loop will not execute for the first time. It goes out, that is new line will be printed. This particular action block will not be read, immediately it jumps because the condition is not satisfied there, and it jumps out, and this new line is printed and it increase the value by 1 and it goes back to the while loop. Now I value is 2, it checks for the condition, it gets into the action block. Here the range value is 1 comma 2. Yes, the condition is satisfied. It works one time. So this line will be printed with the value 1. Now look at the output. See, the very first line is empty. Second line is with only one value, and it is increased one by one till the end. Okay children, I think you have understood nested loop. Let's quickly get into the recap. Let's see what all things we have discussed today. Iterative or looping. We have completely discussed about iterative or looping. While loop with example, same way for loop with example, and finally nested loop structure. We have discussed all these topics. There are examples in your textbook. Please try all the programs. And in the next video, we will be discussing about jump statements in Python. So that's all for today, and please do subscribe this channel, and thanks for watching.